With season 3 on the horizon, I thought it would be a good time to finally watch Fire Force for the first time in my life. And if anyone's curious as to why I never watched this series, it's well because I'm a sheep. Now, but around when I got into anime and I watched a lot of YouTube, I naturally watched a lot of anime YouTubers, and my favorite YouTubers didn't have the most positive opinions of the show, so I just decided to sack this series and never watch it. The main criticism I heard was that there was just too much fan service and it distracted from the series. Now, as someone who loves seeing naked anime characters, I decided to go against my own judgment. Now, is this a stupid reason to not watch a show? Yes. But guys, I've changed. I don't let people's opinions shape my decisions, so to show my growth to the world, I watch the show with the big flames that go boom. Now, as someone who's finally seen Fire Force, what is the main selling point? If someone came up to me and asked why they should watch the series, what would I say? Well, it's for the fucking fights. Fire Force fights are so entertaining to watch. The way it utilizes the different fire abilities from the second generations who can control fire but not create it, and the third generations who can create and shape fire makes for so many different possibilities for amazing fights. But not only that, the animation complements the fights, making it an absolute blast to watch. David Productions, the studio behind Fire Force, did an amazing job capturing the feeling of watching people who utilize fire in their fights. The movement feels so fluid and the unpredictable nature of fire was captured perfectly. Like seriously, I've seen fire users in other animes and they're all pretty good, but Fire Force's utilization of fire is on a different level. And also, one thing I knew about this series that's pretty well known is how amazing the sound effects are. But seriously, you could not have prepared me for how amazing the sound effects actually are. The sounds of the fires, explosions, impacts, it all sounds incredible. The fights in this series with the animation, sound, and how well it utilizes everyone's abilities is without a doubt the best part of the series. If you're the type of person who loves watching good anime fights and you haven't seen it, then this is the perfect show for you. Now let's get into the reason why I didn't watch the series. The fan service. Is it truly a deal breaker that actively ruins the series? It honestly isn't that bad. Now with this in mind, I did try and keep track of moments where it could be annoying, and despite recognizing these moments, it still didn't really change anything. When fan service does appear, especially during fight scenes, I feel like it didn't really affect it that much. Sure, I can understand being annoyed if you feel like it's breaking the flow of the fights, especially if you don't like fan service. I would have been annoyed if it happened during the climax, but it happens relatively at the beginning and doesn't appear as frequently as I was expecting. The main offender of this is Tamaki, as she has this gag with her character where she'll accidentally be put into pervy situations, kinda poking fun at the whole accidental pervy moments that happen in anime by making it self-aware, and this sometimes happens during fights. My biggest problem isn't with her character gag, I honestly don't mind it. My problem with her is that she suffers from Sakura syndrome. Shonen back in the day had this problem with the main female characters being pretty useless, and since Sakura is like the biggest offender of this, I like to call this flaw the Sakura syndrome. Tamaki, despite being a third generation fighter, is useless as fuck. She can't defend herself, she always has to get saved, and she's always commenting on how useless she is. Now, depending on how season 3 goes, this will determine my thoughts on Tamaki as a character. This is because she goes through this little character arc at the end of season 2 with some backstory from her accepting herself and getting stronger. Now, they've built up expectations for Tamaki, and if she doesn't live up to them and stays useless for the rest of the series, then I'm just gonna be pissed off. Anime in recent times has had a lot of amazing female characters in it, even shonen. So I'm hoping that Tamaki doesn't fall deeper into Sakura syndrome because I actually like her as a character. Fire Force does do a great job when it comes to making female characters, whether it be one of the supporting cast or the villains. So I'm hopeful that Tamaki locks in and actually contributes to something besides being someone who needs to be saved. Probably the main thing I liked about Fire Force besides the fights is the progression of the story. The story itself is actually pretty good, especially as we learn more about the world and lore and how it ties into the story. But man, I am a sucker for underdog stories. And watching the main characters who are known as the 8th Department start from nothing and watch as they gain more and more allies and build up a reputation for themselves was so fun to watch. Despite the Fire Force department being all on the same side, they all work independently from each other. This means that information that's learned from one department stays only in that department. Naturally, this sounds horrible as people are literally being turned into fire monsters randomly and no one's any closer to figuring out why this happens. This is where the 8th department comes in, and their goal is to investigate each department to see any signs of corruption from inside the organization. And as the series continues, they investigate different departments, some who actually are traitors, but most are just people who want to save the world from the Infernals. and seeing the 8th just end up becoming friendly with the departments one by one who aren't traitors and single-handedly unifying the Fire Force fighters into a proper organization was so fun to watch. Now if I had to say what the weakest aspect of the series is, it'd probably be the villains. The villains in this series are the Evangelists, a secret organization who want to destroy the world into a ball of fire. Besides them being entertaining to watch, they aren't that interesting as characters. Pretty much every villain doesn't get any backstory, we don't get a chance to know and learn about them, and it just makes them less impactful as we just don't care about them. The heroes in the story are way better than the villains, and the only villain that made me feel interested was Shinra's long lost brother. Even though we barely get to see him in the story, and by the end of season 1 he's basically been turned into a doll, not able to do anything. Another thing is that I feel most of the pillars are wasted in my opinion. These unique characters who share the title of being a pillar could have been so interesting, and it looks like it was going in that direction with Shinra and his brother, but as we get more and more of the pillars getting revealed, the more it loses me. These characters could have been so interesting, but most of them are pretty lackluster. An example was this bitch. She's a psychotic, masochist thrill seeker who loves to be put in danger and who ends up joining the Evangelists. Why is she like this? I don't know. And you can't tell me it's because of a motherfucking fire. Why doesn't she value human life? What made her into this insane thrill seeker? The pillars are the main plot point of the series, so to make most of them uninteresting as characters makes the series less entertaining, as I just don't give a fuck about most of them. Speaking of pillars, Shinra, especially in season 2, was so fucking annoying. Look, I like Shinra, he's a pretty good main character. When Shinra is fighting, I'm hyped. When Shinra is talking to his allies, I'm engaged. When Shinra is talking to any of the fucking pillars, I want to punch my screen. How is Shinra able to say the most absolute worst things when confronting a pillar? Oh, you see there's this crazy bitch who loves to be in danger. What does Shinra say? I'm gonna take you into custody and keep you safe there. And then acts all surprised when she joins the Evangelists. Why the fuck are you confused? Did you not listen to a single word this bitch said? Or this kid, who by the way, Shinra saw his fucking memories of and sees his whole life. He's had all these expectations put on him that's taken a toll on his mental state. What does he say? You're strong. What the fuck are you saying? You literally saw that he's felt that he could never live up to the expectations placed on him and how badly it affects him. Literally, all he had to say was, you are fine the way you are. You can take it easy now. Leave it all up to me. That's all he had to say. But no, this dumbass, despite seeing what's wrong with him, just tells him he's strong. What is that going to change? I'll tell you what, nothing. You know it's bad when a fucking psychotic sociopath who loves beating up people who are weaker than him can say the fucking right thing. And this Shinra bum had the audacity at the end of the arc to say, I couldn't do anything. What the fuck do you mean? You did jack shit. You didn't even try. Just remembering all this infuriates me. And I get that Shinra isn't the brightest character in the show, but I'm sorry, it's like he's trying to get all the pillars to hate him. The only time he wasn't like this was in season 1 with his brother. I don't know if Shinra lost brain cells between season 1 and 2, but this is just outrageous. We literally have a dumb character in the show with Arthur. The best character in the show, by the way. I'm just gonna hope he locks in season 3 because he was hard to watch sometimes in season 2. Though, I'll give it to him at least, he was fine when they were in China. Most of the captains are amazing to watch, but Benimaru, this guy is so fucking cool. His fights are epic and he's a somewhat great mentor to the main characters. And speaking of Benimaru, I want to talk about the most random episode of Fire Force. Literally out of nowhere, Benimaru and Joker, this guy who's been a sort of anti-hero throughout the series, just team up and storm the church where the Emperor lives. Genuinely, where did this come from? There were no hints towards this, no build up at all, and despite that, it was the most epic episode of this series so far for me. I remember watching this episode and by the end of it, I was left in utter shock. Seriously, my mouth was wide open. I was in disbelief with just how batshit insane this episode was. And that's mainly to do with Joker, as we get a lot of backstory on him in this episode and we see him fight his old commander who made his life hell. And there's this one scene, right towards the end, where everything just goes fucking crazy. Literally, what the fuck is going on here? I get that he's drugged everyone, but that didn't stop me from being both hyped and confused at the same time. This episode came out of nowhere, stole my balls, and left right after. What an amazing episode. Also, probably one of the most underrated aspects of Fire Force is its lore. All I've ever known about Fire Force was for its fights and fan service, so when I was watching this show and was actually getting invested in the lore and history of the world, safe to say I was happily surprised. With the 8th department investigating the other departments and any relation to the Fire Force fighters, we naturally learn more and more useful information, and it's actually really interesting. Stuff like the one and only religion in the world was actually created by the people who want to destroy the world and everything in it is false. Or how there are people out there who are from different dimensions. The reason the lore is so good is because that mystery aspect and how they uncover that mystery is very interesting. The story progression complements the lore a lot, and it's able to be engaging and keep the audience entertained at the same time. So do I think Fire Force is amazing? No. Do I think it's good and worth watching? Yes. With its amazing fights, plot progression, and lore, the series is definitely worth giving a shot, and I can't wait to see how they end the story with Season 3. Also, at the end of Season 2, they just up and showed the moon from Soul Eater, so the anime just confirmed that Fire Force is gonna be the Soul Eater world, so yeah, that's something. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like, and if you're new here, subscribing would be greatly appreciated. Fire Force was better than I was expecting, and I'm hopeful that Season 3 will carry that momentum and end on a high note. But anyways, that's all I have to say. See ya.